Welcome to Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw, where we keep it raw, real, and unfiltered. I'm Zachyra Rodriguez, a trauma specialist and marriage psychotherapist, and this is a space where we dive deep into the messy, yet beautiful and often difficult parts of life. Here we challenge ourselves to face our fears and dig deeper into self-discovery. I'm no newbie. I've navigated many rocky roads and consider myself a recovered traumaholic. Life hasn't been easy, but I truly believe that everything happens for a cause greater than ourselves. Whether you're navigating with grief or grappling with trauma, healing from attachment injuries, or working on your marriage, we're here to unpack it all. No sugarcoating, just honest conversations about the struggles we face and the growth that comes from them. You matter, you are loved, even before your existence, and you're created to do great things. So grab a seat, my friend, take a long, deep breath, and let's get real together. So let's begin. Well, welcome to Soul Conversations with Z, another episode, another great visitor on this podcast. You guys know her. You've seen her before. This is actually Dr. Rekishia McMillan, and she's with Integrative Medicine for Energy and Health. That's her podcast, and she has great information. I definitely encourage you guys to go on and visit the podcast. It has great information. So I'm Zachyra Rodriguez, and today we're going to be talking about our second portion of our first podcast that we did a few weeks ago.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, we were talking about that it would be a great, episode, or it would be great for you to come back and for us to actually navigate about a specific topic that so many people, male or female, that people have an issue with. And that is emotional eating.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Right. So the question and the topic for today is emotional eating. Are you really hungry or are you hurting?
Yes.
Because that's pretty much, when we talk about emotional eating, and I think that term came about, years ago when people would just go to the kitchen, eat, or find snacks and just, indulge in it. And it was like, you want a chocolate, you don't feel good, So today we're going to actually tackle that conversation. But Rekishia, tell me a little bit about, for those that maybe never heard, about you, just tell them a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I am a lover of anything related to health and wellness.
Yes.
It is my passion, whether that is healthy eating, whether it's being out in the amazing, great outdoors.
Yes, and you like hiking.
I love hiking. I absolutely just love being surrounded by nature, the beauty. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
Okay.
I'm also an honorably retired Air Force veteran.
Yes.
I'm actually a third generation veteran.
Yes.
My great-great-grandfather served in World War II, my father in Vietnam. And for me, I served during the Iraqi freedom era. So I love supporting our military personnel.
Yes.
I work a lot with veterans today in the work that I do too. I'm a mom, I'm a follower, a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And so this is me.
And her birthday's on Friday, y'all. Yeah, so we are wishing you a happy and blessed birthday this upcoming Friday. We had a little moment before the podcast started. Yes, and I gave her flowers, and we spoke about how important it is to receive our flowers when we are alive and well, because we don't want to wait when, time goes on. And if you're no longer here,
true.
right,
So
then
true.
people, they go to the mic and they say great stuff about us. But a lot of those stuff sometimes we didn't even know.
That's so true.
So so I am giving you your flowers, and I gave them to you, and I'm so happy. So happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so we're ready to dive in. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what is, emotional eating and what that looks like. So why don't you give us, from your perspective, what is that?
Yeah. So I see a lot of clients that come my way for health coaching that are battling with emotional eating. Many times I ask the question, it's not so much what you're eating, but what's eating at you.
Oh.
What is eating at you? So we get to the core of what is eating at you. Because many times when people are emotional eating, they are using food to cope, to deal with, or address their emotions. So whether that is
Absolutely.
sadness, loneliness, boredom, even
Mm-hmm.
excitement, they're using that as a way
Yes.
to cope rather than fulfilling that physical need of satisfying their hunger.
Yes.
Many times emotional eating comes on rather quickly because it's triggered by an emotion.
Absolutely.
And many times when people are emotionally eating, even though they may be full, they will still continue to eat,
Yes.
trying to satisfy
Right.
that need. And so many times being able to distinguish, okay, is this emotional eating or is it because I'm actually hungry?
Yes.
And so with regular hunger, that really comes on slowly.
Yes.
And you can usually satisfy it by eating a variety of foods. For
Yes.
emotional eating, you're craving the sugar, you're craving the
Everything.
carbs. For me, when
Salt.
I was emotionally eating, especially with stress, I had to have those little chocolate Wendy's Frosties
Oh
and a
my
little
goodness.
side fry, dipping them in the
Yes.
that for me,
Yes.
that was
Yes.
trying to really cope with the stress. And so it's again coping with the stress through food. And so some of the questions that a person might be able to ask is, what am I feeling right
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Is this being triggered by an emotion?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I really need to eat something
Yes.
healthy in order to satisfy this need? So really looking at why you are eating, being more mindful of what's
Yes.
happening.
And I think that's what ends up happening because, especially in today's society, there's just we live a busy life.
Yes.
There's the internet and we're just trying to kind of keep up with the Jones and doing all these different things that we're not really mindful. I think mindfulness has pretty much got lost.
Yes.
You know, many, many years ago. And I think that sometimes because of the fact that we're on this pretty much this roller coaster race, that we forget to kind of pause and reset ourselves. So we find the easiest thing. You know, I myself, I remember there was a period in time and not too long ago where as soon as I would walk in, like I was already mentally preparing myself. I was going to attack the snack bar. Yes. It was like, okay, it's time. Right? Like what is in there?
Yeah.
And being very mindful of that because of the fact that we're just going. And we don't realize that sometimes we're trying to numb. You know, some sort of emotion.
Yes.
That is there and it's yelling. And we're on survival mode.
Absolutely.
And we get to a point that food has become that comfort for us.
Yes, it does.
You know, so you said something pretty interesting as far as that you see, you know, clients on a regular basis that has this. Like, what are some of, you know, those symptoms that you see like pretty much like very often?
Yeah, some of the symptoms that I see when someone comes and there is an emotional eating issue, 9 times out of 10, Sashi, it is connected to some type of trauma that they have experienced in their lifetime. Every single time.
Yes.
And so some of the symptoms, not being able to sleep at night. They just literally, I talked to someone, they had not been able to sleep in 3 days.
Wow.
Right. And they're thinking that it might have been environmental, but when we begin to uncover and we begin to investigate, deeper trauma is existing in that person's life. So not being able to sleep is one of the symptoms. Definitely overeating. When a person is full, they are still eating. Even though they may have, you know, reached that point of being satiated, they are still not satisfied because they're looking to really address that emotional need, but they're trying to fill it, but can't do that with food. So those are the 2 top areas, not being able to sleep, overeating. Also, a lot of inflammation in the body exists too.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the inflammation because I know that, you know, the cortisol, all that has, you know, plays a huge, huge role in emotional eating.
Yeah. So inflammation is a major concern when it comes down to health and emotional eating. Many people don't even tie inflammation to emotional eating.
Wow.
And so if you are really filling your diet with a lot of processed food that lacks fiber, the body's going to recognize that because fiber is one of the main nutrients that helps to regulate your hormones.
Wow.
So if you don't have fiber, you're eating a lot of processed food that's causing hormonal imbalances within the body, hormonal dysregulations, which causes inflammation in the body. Also, the fiber is responsible for your gut health.
Yes,
right?
that gut health. Talk about that, Rekishia.
Yes. And so with the gut health, many individuals don't realize that there is an actual microbiome environment within the gut. We call it the
whole
second
environment.
brain.
Yes.
The second brain.
Yes.
So if we are not feeding it, if we are not nourishing it, if we are filling the body with processed foods, not enough whole foods, that's going to cause inflammation in the gut.
Yeah.
When you have inflammation in the gut, it is going to trigger inflammation in other parts of your body.
Wow.
So the aches you may be feeling in your knees, the aches you may be feeling in your joints, even what's most coming to the forefront now is inflammation within the brain.
Wow.
Right? What we call that type 3 diabetes.
Yes.
But it all stems from inflammation throughout the body based on our diet as well as lifestyle practices.
Wow. So what would we tell someone that, they're starting to feel a little bit off? Because you normally start to feel that something is off. I'm being reminded of a family member that she went through some trauma.
Yeah.
And I want to say that, she went away to college, and then afterwards she just started to get these cravings, and she was going through a traumatic event.
Yeah.
And afterwards she just started eating and eating, and it was like she was eating her feelings. It wasn't even that she was hungry anymore.
Yeah.
It was so comforting, to have like these milkshakes from McDonald's and all these various, elements that were pretty much damaging and hurting her, physically.
Yes.
So now we have the emotional component, but now also it's affecting her physical component, right?
Yes.
With the inflammation and everything else. And she ended up gaining so much pounds.
Yeah.
But and people would say, well, just stop eating. You can't just stop eating, it would be great.
Right.
But when there's that emotional component and people are going through a very serious traumatic event, it's hard.
Oh, it is. It is because, it's very layered, Sashi. And so we have to pull back those layers.
Yes.
And we cannot heal what we conceal.
Yes.
Right. So we've got to begin to address the trauma because many times I have to work with clients through some of the harder things or either refer them to a therapist that can go into whether it's trauma-informed therapy so that they can work through some of those traumatic issues because we can't even really get to the food part of it until we address the trauma first.
The root.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that because that's great that you're touching on that. Because addressing pretty much the emotional eating, that's just pretty much like the symptom, right? The consequence of something that has happened.
Yeah.
The trauma itself is the root.
Yes, it is.
Right? And a lot of times we're telling people, just stop it. Just stop doing that behavior. Just stop it. It's easy.
Yeah.
But there's a core issue that's happening on the inside.
It is.
And if we don't address that, then the emotional eating is going to continue.
Absolutely, because there's trauma that is held within the soul.
Yes.
So we've got to address the soul part of the person. We've got to get to the emotional root of what is it that's eating you.
Yes.
And that's why I shared that at the beginning. It's not so much what you're eating, it's what's eating at you. What happened in your past, whether you were 3 years old, 5 years old, 10, 12, 15, even in your adulthood. What was it that happened to you to create this need to emotionally eat, to try to soothe what happened to you?
And it's kind of like when we hear about people that engage in these self-harming behaviors. Same thing.
Yes, it is.
Right? The comparison is exactly the same thing because, again, especially like when it's a kid and the parents are trying to figure out like what exactly is it, like just stop cutting. What are you doing? And they want the pain to stop, but there's an underlying issue.
Oh, absolutely.
There's something happening on the inside of you or that happened to them maybe in the past, like how you were just saying, or currently that's not being addressed.
Yeah, because some of the things that I've seen that with that trauma, it's going to either drive a person into that flight, or freeze, right? And so it may not be so much about the food, but it's their nervous system response. And they are coping with the food. It is a coping mechanism for them to try to survive because they're trying to really bring the body back to a place of calm.
Yes. So imagine that our bodies, because now we're talking about like that physical component and that the emotional component, and they work together.
Yes,
it's like a little ping pong, right? They go back and forth. Yes. And we're having people that are pretty much like demonstrating these behaviors. And especially now that people are overworked or they're busy, they don't have time to really eat, maybe healthy. And one of the things that I even discovered for my own self is that when you are busy and if you don't plan ahead, what ends up happening, you just target whatever comes your way.
That's right.
Right? And everything looks great and it doesn't matter if it's healthy. And when I started to engage as far as like eating those proteins and a little bit more fiber, it was like, oh, okay, I don't feel that hungry.
That's right.
Right.
That's
However, one of the things that I also learned eventually is that if you're not eating enough, right? Because for me, it's like, okay, I don't want to gain weight. So what am I doing? I'm not going to eat a lot. However, the body knows.
The body does know.
Yes. And then now it's really hunger.
That's right.
Right. But then I get very excited and I'm just eating whatever I feel like eating because I'm in control. Because emotional eating can also be a form of control. So what have you seen in your practice, that comes up with your patients?
Yeah, now that's a great question that you asked regarding, I think, the control part of it. Because control makes people feel safe. Right? It's actually, when they don't want to let go of the control, that is a major area that people are not willing to let go. And sometimes it takes work to let go so that we can reach that place of healing. So whether I see things like, again, not wanting to let go because the underlying cause is the fear of being out of control. That is the number one thing that I see, that people are just afraid to let go because they're remembering the trauma of when they were not in control and how they were vulnerable and they were taken advantage of and they were abused. And so letting the person know that it's okay to have the permission to let go, because in the letting go, that's the freedom. And letting go, that's where the freedom is at.
It's like giving yourself permission. And it's like a constant reminder that you're safe now. You know, we're not functioning underneath that season. But it takes a while. It takes therapy to actually go through that, being able to work through that trauma. And being able to know that, okay, well, I do have permission, to let go. I remember a few months ago, sometime last year, we decided we were going to do this challenge, right? And we're not going to eat a lot. We're not going to go into this whole emotional, we're not going to eat. Like, it was just like a whole thing. And I was so excited about it. What do you think happened after the 30 days?
Oh, you were going in.
Oh, what? I said, oh, I have control now? Because before I was doing it for a purpose, supposedly. Right? Let me tell you, when that day 31 rolled up on that calendar, I had a whole menu.
Everything in the kitchen sink.
I had a whole menu as to what I was going to eat because now I'm in control.
There you go.
But there is something about that control factor that does something to our brains.
Oh, yeah.
And it's difficult sometimes to let that go and know that, what? We do have the freedom.
Right.
But it's really, really uncovering those layers as to what happened to you.
Absolutely.
And what is currently happening to you that you feel that you cannot relax and not engage in that, unhealthy behavior, because that's what it is.
Yes, because most individuals don't even realize, Sashi, that they are living out their trauma. Like they're living out their trauma in the way that they are approaching food,
Absolutely.
using it as a coping tool. They are unaware.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are really getting in that environment and bringing that awareness
Yes.
to really begin to peel back those layers to say,
Yes.
okay, let's look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Have you considered this? And most times individuals have not considered it.
They don't.
They
They
don't
just
look
feel
at
that they're just going into the kitchen and just eating
Mhm.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you find that it's hard for people to really understand and accept that this is really what's happening with them?
Yes. And when that awareness hits, it is very hard to process because individuals may even, I've heard a client recently say, I didn't even know that this was a
Wow.
problem or an issue that I had. And so really
Wow.
trying to process that as a
Mm-hmm.
reality of this is what's happening, it takes a moment to really come
Yes.
to terms with, okay, there's a major challenge that I'm facing with
Right.
food, my
The
relationship with
acceptance too.
food. Yes.
Yes.
And so really moving into that accepting space
Yes.
is really
Mhm.
the first phase of moving forward to wholeness and healing.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what ends up happening too is that there's this component of shame that comes with
Mhm.
it,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because if I am pretty much accepting
Mhm.
and gaining that awareness that I have an issue,
Yeah.
what does that say about me,
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
right? Because now there's shame attached to that
Mhm. Yeah.
with my identity. This
Mhm.
goes further than
Yes, it does.
stuffing some things in your mouth that taste
Yes, it
really
does.
good.
There you go. So,
Yes,
so
that
true.
shame. It's like I need to accept
Mhm.
that there's an issue,
Absolutely.
as far as that I am hurting
Mhm.
and there was something that happened. And like you said something powerful that sometimes they don't know.
Absolutely.
But when we do know and we do gain that awareness, then what do we do with it?
Mhm.
And that shame component, oh my goodness, can play a huge
Mhm.
deal in females especially.
Yeah, and that's a big area for women today because women, whether we are thinking about our society, it's a diet culture. Women have
Oh
to
my
fit
goodness.
into a certain
Mm-hmm.
uh, picture of what
Number
it
and
means
yes,
to be a woman, a certain size, certain shape,
yes,
what you're eating. And we see this everywhere, whether it's in magazines, whether it's online, whether it's on TV.
yes,
And these are the norms that many women are presented and thinking
yeah.
that that's normal or
It's like
healthy.
this is pretty
Oh,
much
yeah.
the mold.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you have to fit into this mold. And if you don't fit into this mold, then something's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many women who are suffering in silence. They are suffering in the shame. They're suffering with the secrecy that they even have something going on with their eating emotionally.
And that's the thing. It's like a secret
Mm-hmm.
little habit.
Mm-hmm.
And we start little by little,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's taking control over us.
Absolutely.
And then we do start to see even people with other emotional, eating disorders that
Mm-hmm.
occur as a result. But
Yeah.
everything boils down to that mental health component,
Yes, it does.
which then affects all these hormones and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And the layer of shame, like as I said, that comes with it,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I think about like the perfectionism.
Yeah.
We need to be a certain way or it needs to look a certain way
Yeah.
or I should be able, I'm entitled
Yes.
to being able to do this and I'm entitled to being able to eat this.
Yeah.
Like who are you to tell me what to eat? So I'll
Right.
share a little story with you because I love stories, right? Because that's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
So growing up, living in Philly, I was 5 years old
Mm.
and I had such an unhealthy relationship with food.
Mm.
I hated food. I really did. So for me, the component was I don't want to eat.
Yeah.
I was like this little puny little girl And I remember I would literally get hit because of the fact that I didn't want to eat my food. And my grandmother would sit me down on the table and it's like, you need to eat every single thing. And I could not stand having food. So till this day, when I see that people are like overindulging and with so much food, for me, that creates like, it's like a trigger.
Right.
But it's something that happened at an early age because we create these unhealthy habits.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I used to do, and I don't know if you remember, but like the Jetsons and
oh yeah,
yes,
of course.
yes, and they would pop this little pill into the microwave, right? Before microwaves even existed. And then they would get like this meal and I would be like, oh my gosh, if I could just like take that pill and not have to eat, that would be like great. Imagine to the extent. So there's something that happens in our brains that we start to actually now create these stories, which we start to believe, and then we act on them, you know? And for me, that's pretty much, that was my relationship with food.
Yes.
Did you ever have like what was your relationship with food growing up?
Yeah, my relationship with food was, I was always a big eater. Like as a kid, I was tiny, but a big eater.
Yes.
And I think because my parents always pushed, you have to eat everything on your plate.
Yes.
Right. So for me, that was the environment that I grew up in. You've got to eat everything on your plate. And not realizing that that could also be unhealthy too. Because if you are full and you're still eating, that could be the start of emotional eating because I noticed those patterns like in my 30s and 40s that I was eating and I really didn't realize it, but at the time my pastor's wife brought it to my attention.
But you're just eating just
that
to
I
eat.
was just eating to be eating. And she said, "Are you sure you're not emotionally eating?" And I'm like, "No." I immediately said no. But the more that I thought about it as time went on, I looked at where that behavior come from, how I picked up that habit. And so I had to begin to rethink my relationship with food and to begin asking those questions like, why am I eating?
But isn't that interesting what you just said, Rekishia, right? Because our first instinct is to say no.
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm emotionally eating? Okay, now we're going into, again, the shame.
Yes.
Right away, it's like, me emotionally eating? Why would I be I don't have a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So she brought it to my attention and I immediately got defensive.
Yes. Then we feel insulted. We are getting insulted over us eating emotionally.
So my plate is like packed to the max.
Oh, when she's looking at you and you're tiny. Yeah, so she must have been like, Rekishia, we have to have a conversation.
The whole plate. Would
you eat the whole thing?
I would eat the whole thing and then I'd go back for another plate.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's so interesting, especially in culture.
Yeah.
Because I don't know in your culture, but they would tell you like, you know how many starving little kids are out there and you're throwing away the food? How dare you need to eat that?
Yeah.
Right? I know that was drilled into me.
Absolutely. Same here.
So you have to eat everything.
Yeah. You're really shamed into eating because you're thinking about these little starving children, which...
Yes. And they tell you about it. And they'll bring you to the TV and show it to you.
Exactly.
You see, those are the people and you're throwing away that food. You better eat this stuff.
Right. So you're taught from an early age these negative recurring behaviors that we don't even realize are impacting us in adulthood.
Right.
Because I didn't realize that was impacting me and why I was overeating so much. And so I had to, again, really begin to rethink my relationship with food and how I was eating.
Right. So then tell me about that moment when you finally had this aha moment and you acknowledged that you were emotionally eating. You know, what shifted for you?
It really brought an awareness to me to really think about why am I overeating like this? Like, what is it that's causing me to emotionally eat? So I was thinking about the high levels of stress that I was under at the time. Going through a divorce at the time.
Okay.
Involved with so many different community things. And so it was just a lot of stress and the pressure that was leading me to eat versus let me take a look at how I'm managing stress, which I never looked at managing stress in the way that I began to look at it at that moment. So for me, it was beginning to look at, okay, how am I addressing and managing stress in my life right now?
Yeah. And it was linked then to now your physical, because now it's impacting you and impacting all your hormones and everything else.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Everything is interconnected. What affects the body affects us mentally. It affects us emotionally. And so again, I had to really do some deep soul searching. And even as you mentioned that, Sashi, like at the time, I didn't know that I was going through perimenopause. So that's another thing that was included in that was causing me to really stress eat, emotionally eat.
Because hormones are now changing.
Oh, yes.
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 So now you're faced with the busyness of life, all these stress components, everything that you were mentioning before, these life stressors, and then also your body is also going through a whole shift. Oh my goodness.
Major changes. And, shortly after that, I wanted to know how to really better manage my health. And that's when I went to health coaching school. And I was just going just for the betterment of my health. That's the main reason why I went, because I wanted to know how to improve my health, but not really knowing that I would become like a health coach, because that was not my primary goal of wanting to go, but it was just really to improve my health.
Right. It started out personally for you.
Correct.
Yeah. And in our previous podcast, you did share a little bit, about that, about your own journey, as far as like being able to go into this specialization, becoming a health coach.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking also about that emotional eating scarcity. I want to pause. I want us to pause here for a second.
Yeah.
Because that eating scarcity that we have, that mentality, especially like when you're growing up and you realize that, maybe there was some type of financial, let's just say there was a lack. And then when you do see food, again, the control. And especially when people are giving away some free food, oh my goodness. Everybody's in. But it's also connected to scarcity.
Yeah, and you mentioned that because it makes me think about my parents. Because my father grew up like in a very impoverished community neighborhood, and that's one of the reasons why he joined the military, to get out, right? Because there was that lack. There was never enough, like in the home environment, and there was 7 of them. He was the oldest of 7 children.
Wow.
So there was always lack. There was also, always the scarcity there of not having enough food. And so bringing that into our home, like you got to eat everything on your plate.
That's a cycle that's coming into the home.
Yes. You got to eat everything on your plate based on his upbringing, his background, that impacting me and how I looked at food.
That relationship
with food in adulthood.
It's all connected.
It is all interconnected.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So what do we tell these wonderful, listeners that are out there that are saying, oh my goodness, I may have some, food scarcity, components that I need to address. I do have stress. I am noticing that maybe I am going through this perimenopause, or maybe I already went through menopause, or I just had a baby and, I'm going through, having all these different issues. Like, what do we tell them?
Yeah. So I would say something that I like to do with some of the individuals that I work with. A good place to start is writing a letter about your relationship with food.
Oh, yes.
And how you see food and the purpose of food in your life is always a good place to start, because
I love that.
Looking at how you really, again, address food in your life. Do you look at it as something that brings you nourishment, vitality, or do you just use food when you're stressed out?
Coping mechanism.
Is it a coping mechanism for you? What is the purpose of food in your life? So writing a letter between you and food about your relationship.
Yes, I love that.
After you write that letter, take a look at some of the supports that you have around you. And if you don't have supports, then reach
need to
out and
seek.
get the support that you need to help you work through, especially if it is trauma.
Yes.
Reaching out to a therapist, connecting so that you can work through the trauma. Because again, as I shared, you cannot heal what you conceal.
Yeah.
Because if you want to really overcome the emotional eating, we have got to address the root cause of what is leading you to emotionally eat.
Wow.
Getting the support, getting the help is necessary.
Yes. I definitely appreciate you sharing that tool because I think it's a great start, for the listeners that are out there that are maybe struggling with this as far as like, what is that relationship and being able to confront it because that's the first step of awareness because we cannot pretty much heal anything if we really do not know. So we want to be very mindful that going forward, really analyzing and checking in on ourselves as far as like, am I really hungry?
Yes.
Or am I hurting?
There you go.
So I definitely appreciate this conversation with you, Rekishia. It's always great,
It is.
to bring you on and even when we meet offline and just being able, we always have like these great conversations.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely so, thankful that you were able to come back because I know you're a busy lady.
Yes, as are you.
Yes. I know this one worked out pretty well, so I'm just so thankful for that.
It did.
Yes, but thank you so much for coming, back and just joining us and being part of this space, healing space where we get to actually address different issues. So, to our listeners out there, we hope that this was actually something that blessed you. I know there's so many people struggling with emotional eating. This is Zachyra Rodriguez with Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw. Hasta la próxima. Sal y vale.